bus tail lights. Formica glows in washed out lemon white. Sugar packets huddle in a corner, like the plans I only open late at night. Coffee cup has rings of old decisions, dark and fading closer to the brim. Server wipes a circle on the counter, drawing second chances in the rim. Jukebox sleeps with half its letters missing. Neatness curl like pages from the plate. Neon sign outside keeps mispronouncing every simple word for stay. Instead, booth vinyl creaks beneath my shifting posture. Salt and pepper guard my folded hands. I am tracing roots between the ketchup and the smaller life I never planned. I used to think that progress meant a spotlight, applause arriving right on every beat. But this quiet humming, stainless palace teaches how to taste a smaller feat. In this all-night crack my corner diner moment, every refood is a question I review. I can sweeten what I say to myself gently without lying about what I will do. If I leave a little softer with my timing, tip the past and let the future take a seat, then this faded laminate and buzzing ceiling turns into a table where I meet. Condiment rack holds lifetimes in their barcodes. Someone left a pen cap by the glass. I write my next 3 days in crooked shorthand. On a napkin I might crumple my last. Doorbell chimes whenever courage enters, even if it's just to order fries. I decide the smallest, honest choices count as proof I'm still allowed to rise. In this all-night crack my corner diner moment, I allow my old excuses to untie. Every check I sign with steadier fingers is a truce between my fear and why I try. If I step back out into the sodium silence with a quieter respect for what I choose, then this chrome and vinyl whisper bright canteen holds the first warm evidence of new. Morning leaks in sideways through the curtain. Balcony air is pale and kind of cold. Rail is lined with tiny chipped off stories, painted over, never really told. Kettle sings a thin and sleepy siren. Steam draws patterns on the window frame. Phone is full of unclicked expectations, all of them still asking for my name. Laundry sways like low-key conversation, t-shirts trading rumors with the breeze. Down below a bus exhales its patience, letting off another set of dreams. Plants along the ledge are leaning outward, chasing every fragment of the sun. I am here in socks and oversized silence, counting how the quiet starts to run. I thought change would sound like thunder, but it whispers from the tiles beneath my feet. Every cup I rinse and place in order is a tiny vow that no one else will see. If all I do is stand here with my heartbeat, listening to traffic far and thin, watching little flags of cotton lift and settle, letting simple air move through my skin, then maybe that is still a kind of progress. Soft adjustments painted into view from this small familiar edge of weather. I update how I speak the word brand new. Neighbors drag their chairs across the floorboards. Somewhere music tries a different key. Car alarms complain and then forgive it. Birds debate which roof is best to leave. I stir sugar in a patient coffee, let the spiral draw its little line. I am not the person from last winter, even if the jacket on the hook is still the same design. If all I do is breathe and keep on standing, let the balcony remember every day. I can let the sun rewrite my outline, one faint brush at a carefully slow display. I do not need a headline for my turning, no confession shouted to the blue. The proof is in the way the railing knows me, and how the morning learns my shape as something new. Reading room is breathing in a low hush. Table lamps draw islands in the shade. Pages turn like synchronized confession. Margin notes where hidden plans are made. Chair legs scrape in careful syncopation. Pens tap out a fragile private beat. Air is thick with half-completed essays. Dreams in borrowed fonts on every sheet. Clock above the stacks repeats its verdict, second-handed tiny metronome. Screens glow pale on scattered study partners, building quiet futures far from home. I sit in the corner by the window, spine of every book along my back. All the words I thought would never fit me wait like jackets hanging on a rack. I believe that discipline meant iron, never drifting, never needed rest. But this room of whispered concentration teaches softer ways to do my best. In this soft fluorescent library weather, every highlight line pages, laughter ripples, quickly settles down. I exhale the tension in my shoulders, let my own mistakes not wear a crown. Index cards arrange a gentle roadmap, not a prison, just a place to start. I agree to show up more than flawlessly. Sign my name in pencil on my heart. In this soft fluorescent library weather, I accept the pace that really fits. Every paragraph I cross and rewrite is a proof I do not have to quit. If I leave with nothing photogenic, just a handful of ideas coming true, then this quiet ink and paper morning stamped a working kindness into you. Kitchen tiles are cool beneath my bare feet. Clock blinks numbers no one else will see. Flickered from the cheap fluorescent fixture, buzzes like a nervous part of me. Kettle hums a soft and steady backbeat. Steam curls up and fogs the window frame. Outside someone's walking home in laughter. Inside I am rearranging quiet shame. Counter holds a stack of chipped up dishes, evidence of days I let run long. Radio on top of the refrigerator whispers half remembered older songs. Notebook waits beside the crooked fruit bowl. Pen is like a fuse I rarely light. I could leave the pages clean and harmless, or is drawing something bright tonight. I thought breakthroughs needed perfect moments, but they sneak in with the dripping of the sink. Every stain along the wooden cutting surface tracks the times I had to stop and think. If I write one trembling line at this small table, while the kettle and the radio agree that the world keeps turning without asking if I am ready for who I will be, then this cluttered humming midnight kitchen is the engine where my better stories start. I can season all my second guessing till it tastes like something gentler in my heart. Floorboards creak like old advice and rhythm. Fridge kicks on and joins a subtle band. I rehearse a future version in reflection on the dark glass of the microwave door's hand. Steam creates a fleeting framed impression of a stranger standing calmer in my place. I exhale and let her share the counter while we co-sign this tiny ordinary space. small table. Let the sleepless lie reveal that I outgrew. Every margin filled with crossing out and arrows is a recipe for something honest new. In this cluttered, humming midnight kitchen, I accept the quiet draft of who I'll be, stirring all my long collected worries till they thicken into softer memory. Hilltop path is stitched with tiny gravel. Shoes announce each choice with every slide. Fence along the edge is old but honest, guarding both the drop and shifting pride. City spreads below in quiet pixels. Windows flicker languages of light. I can see the places I have broken, glued together underneath the night. Benches carved with parallel confessions, initials wrapped in crooked little hearts. Someone once believed in sudden endings, someone else in carefully slow starts. Air is cool enough to keep me waking. Breath appears then disappears from sight. I rehearse a list of quiet edits for the story I've told myself to write. I used to think a turning needed thunder, but it sounds more like the rustle of the trees and the distant low applause of traffic as it carries other versions over streets. From this hill above the ordinary patterns, I can see the roads that nearly wore me through. Every intersection where I froze up looks forgiven from the softer view. I let this quiet lifted angle be the witness to the adjustments I pursue. I can climb back down with different posture, holding room for someone kinder, still myself and true. Distant sirens fade into a murmur, like a chorus practicing in sleep. Somewhere in the maze of lit up windows, people bargain with the promises they keep. I am only one small dot upon the margin of a map that no one else can scan. But if I trace a steadier horizon, it might teach my tired shoulders how to stand. From this hill above the ordinary patterns, I rewrite the weight of what I've had to prove. Every street that once felt like a jury looks like simple pavement built to move. This quiet's lifted, sign the updates I whisper just a few. I can join the city's woven motion as a version softly braver carrying through. is a 10-4-4. Vending lights conduct a tiny choir of colors I have never named before. Train arrives, a silver-sided memory. Doors sigh out a complicated breeze. Hide the taxes leaning with their offers. Promise better sales and bold unease. I take up a corner by the window, back against the gentle metal frame. Glass reflects a halfway done revision. Someone almost ready to rename. Stations slide like sentences in motion. Every stop a different kind of chance. I watch strangers edit their expressions as the tunnel walls erase and then advance. Riding through the undercity glow lines, I rehearse the things I have to choose. Every flicker on the tunnel ceiling is a line of code I could refuse. I am not just carried by this carriage, I am steering with the truths I let shine through. Underneath fluorescent humming daylight, I learned to treat my doubts as something I redo. Poles are crowded with invisible stories, hands that cling for balance and for time. Someone scrolls a feed of shining milestones, someone else just stares and fights the climb. I fold up the version filled with waiting, slide it in the pocket with my keys. When I stand and feel the brakes announcing, I decide to exit where my fear begins to freeze. Riding through the undercity glow lines, I rehearse the things I have to choose. Every flicker on the tunnel ceiling is a line of code I will not lose. I am not just carried by this carriage, I am present in the windows I look through. If I step into the noise above me, I step as someone quietly more true. Desk light paints a circle on the tabletop. Coffee ring, a planet going cold. Tabs are like a crowd of tiny windows, all of them with futures to be sold. Cursor blinks a fragile little heartbeat, waiting for a sentence to begin. Playlist hums a loop of gentle drum hits, keeping time for every doubt I am in. Streetlights down below change colors on a crosswalk I can barely see. Somewhere someone's running for a deadline while I redraw tiny maps of me. This quiet is not failure, it is training. Every late night line I underline is proof I am orbiting the life that I am making, even if it does not fit the louder roofs. If all I have is notebooks and a screen glow, that is still a universe in view. I am staying in this ordinary evening, and I am calling that a step towards something true. Sticky notes are constellations peeling, edges curling with a tired grace. Half phrases and half abandoned song hooks, stacked like little skylines out of place. Neighbors talk through paper thin dividing. Laughter filters through the plaster seams. I am not invited, but I am busy hosting all my half-completed dreams. Messages sit unread on my phone screen. Tiny guilt that buzzes once then sleeps. I could chase a louder kind of story, or keep tending to these hidden keeps. I am allowed to build a slower future, measured in the pages that I fill. I mark another tiny check beside today, and learn that stay is also skill. This quiet is not failure, it is training. Every late night line I underline is proof. I am orbiting a life that I am making, even if it does not fit the louder roofs. If all I have is notebooks and a screen glow, that is still a universe in view. I am staying in this ordinary evening, because ordinary nights are how extraordinary comes true. Coin machine declares its quiet countdown. Numbers blink like distant traffic codes. Laundry spins a galaxy of t-shirts, orbiting the life I never showed. Tasty chairs are thrones of brief surrender, magazines from summers long ago. Ceiling hums a fluorescent confession, casting everyone in almost glow. Change machine rejects my first decision, greets the second try with metal grin. Detergent scent is sharp with recollection of apartments I kept stumbling in. Someone checks their phone for job replies. Someone else just watches colors blur. We are all here rinsing out our stories, waiting for the softer parts to stir. I once thought I had to start from zero, throw away the fabric of my days. But the cycle on this humming washer shows a different kind of change in place. In this late night humming laundromat rotation, every turn re-teaches what can stay. Old regrets and fraying expectations loosen in the soapy patient sway. If I fold my hours with more intention, treat the creases as a map to follow through. This fluorescent gently awkward torner becomes a manual for starting new. Dryer doors are round and shining portals, warmth escapes in hesitant small size. I imagine stepping through the window to a version that can meet my eyes. No one here will witness my decision, just the rattle of a zipper in the drum. But I can leave with slightly different posture, wearing proof of Wipers trace a metronome on glass. Neon signs dissolve into reflection. Review holds a shrinking piece of past. Rain has left its fingerprints on concrete. Radio hums a distant, steady tone. Engine sings a low and tired heartbeat. I pretend I like the taste of being alone. I did not take. Billboards selling versions of a future. None of them know how my fingers shake. Dashboard glows a quiet, patient amber. City hangs ahead like borrowed light. I keep driving circles through the questions, hoping one will finally come out right. I said I only needed air, but I drove straight into your side of town. I said I never really cared, yet every exit sign keeps spelling out your name somehow. Hey, let's draw a crooked kind of halo on the fog that will not let me through. Every mile I swear I am escaping, but the road keeps folding back to you. I run from all the places I belong to, until I see the truth in passing view. No matter where this highway tries to throw me, it always turns and traces back to you. Empty toll booths archive tiny midnights, coins and stories rattling in the tray. Stations closed but vending lights keep breathing. Little ghosts that never moved away. Thought that getting lost would feel like freedom. Thought that distance meant a cleaner start. But the further that I chase the darkness, the clearer I can read my own handwriting in my heart. Hey, let's draw a crooked kind of halo on the fog that will not let me through. Every mile I swear I am escaping, but the road keeps folding back to you. I run from all the places I belong to, until I see the truth in passing view. No matter where this highway tries to throw toner, dusted blueprints teach us how to draft a softer tone. In this late shift, humming, heartbeat counter evening, every reprint is the issue to revise. I can let my earlier attempts be scaffolds, not indictments of the way I rise. If I walk out with a stack of gentler outlines, edges trimmed to match what I can do, then this tiny sleepless paper strewn arena turns into a lab for coming through. Test pages bloom inside the trash bin, failed alignments, colors out of place. Once I would have hidden every mismatch, now I see the shape of patient grace. Stapler clicks, a small decisive drumbeat, blinding all my almost into one. I agree to stand behind this version, even knowing other drops will come. In this late shift, humming, coffee counter evening, I accept the smudges on my plan. Every margin filled with fresh corrections is a map that truly fits my span. If I leave with arms full of reversions and a calmer rhythm in my view, then this toner's nerve center, tired light workshop holds the proof that trying counts less new. Arcade lights are shouting in pastel, tokens clink like cautious little plans. Screens reflected collage of half decisions, all controlled by unfamiliar hands. Carpet holds the dust of every rerun, joysticks shine with overused intent. I am standing in the glow-soaked doorway, counting what I gave and what I spent. Prize wallings and stacked anticipation, plastic futures hanging by a thread. Tickets stream from hungry metal mouths here, turning hope to yellow paper thread. Every flashing level up announcement claims to know the shortcut to repair. I press start and feel the old reflexes reach for victories that are not there. I thought choosing meant one perfect target, never missing, never wasting aim. But this room of blinking noisy chances shows a softer way to lose and stay the same. In this midnight candy color arcade weather, every game is just a practice round for truth. I can spend a pocket full of tokens on the courage to be clumsy, still uncool. If I trade my fear of wasted tries here for the knowledge that the failing is a clue, then the neon plastic echo loud arena turns into a lab for something new. Kids are stacking paper crowns of tickets, crowds applauding scores that no one keeps. I release the need to win in secret, let my shaky aim be what it is and breathe. Machine hum writes a looped encouragement over all the rules I once obeyed. I can let my hands forget perfection, lean instead on showing up and staying brave. In this midnight candy color arcade weather, I allow the scoreboard Corner store is yawning in the daylight. Metal shutter climbs with rusty song. Fridge doors glow in rows of neon beverages. Label colors lining up along. Floor still smells like last shift's tired footsteps. Newspapers arrive with folded weight. I slip in between the shelves of sugar, carrying a head that stayed up late. Owner nods a half-asleep approval. Radio predicts a scattered sunny sky. Coffee machine complains in tiny pulses, warming up the hours shuffling by. I pick out a carton and a small bread at a future I am scared to name. Hidden in the crinkle of the wrapper is a vow to stop treating change as blame. I believe beginnings need a distance. Different city, different version of my face. But this narrow aisle with flickering ceiling offers me a more familiar place. In this quiet humming corner grocery morning, every purchase is a line I underline. I can choose a softer way of feeding all the parts of me I push behind. If I leave with nothing grand or lightning, just a breakfast and a plan to follow through, then the cheap fluorescent chip tile kingdom counts as where I start to act more true. Lottery eyes lean bright against the doorway, selling lightning in a cardboard frame. I decide my odds are in the minutes I can actually reshape without a claim. Plastic bags record the sound of choices crackling as I carry them outside. I am not a headline or a warning, I am just a person letting habits slide. In this quiet humming corner grocery morning, I invest in smaller risks I can renew. Every step past stacked and waiting boxes is a vote for what I'm really going to do. If I walk back through familiar sidewalks, holding ordinary fuel and different view, then this tiny blinking frontage market is the place that taught my new to chew. Footbridge arches over patient water. River moves in long unhurried lines. Rail is cool and damp beneath my fingers, carrying the echo of the signs. Underneath the current edit stories, smoothing out the arguments with stone. I lean over watching little futures drift like leaves that left their branches home. Traffic on the distant main road murmurs. Train above announces passing time. Clouds arrange a quiet shifting ceiling. Soft revisions in a paler rhyme. Bicycles ring out their small arrival. Joggers pace their private set of goals. I am here between the banks and the skyline, translating the weight I never told. I once thought crossing meant erasing, leaving who I was on the other shore. But this span of steel and careful concrete teaches me to bring then add some more. shop is waking in slow focus. Metal rack lines shimmer into place. Sleeves of strangers' lifetimes lean together, stacked up in a quiet, grooved embrace. Oh, counter smells of cardboard, dust and coffee. Needles rest like secrets on their thrones. I slip on the padded list and headphones, borrowing a different kind of home. Posters fade in layers on the stairwell, out of date announcements for a show. Speakers breathe a soft elastic drum beat from an album someone loved and let go. Bins are full of almost misdirections, gatefold maps of who I might have been. I flip through and trace the colored artwork, looking for a courage pressed within. I used to think becoming meant erasing, trading all my older tracks for gloss. But these worn out covers and their stories teach me how to count, not call it loss. In this narrow humming vinyl sleeve cathedral, every needle drop rewrites my view. Crackled intro, slightly warping chorus, show that broken edges can be true. Ooh, if I let these borrowed songs remind me that life can hiss and still come through, then this quiet dust and static haven turns into a compass pulling you. Owner wipes the counter with the rhythm, tells a joke that lands and fades away. Someone finds a record from their childhood, holds it like a time machine on play. I imagine pressing my own patterns into something future hands might find. Not perfection, just a clear reflection of a person learning to be kind. In this narrow humming vinyl sleeve cathedral, I accept the scratches that I've earned. Every pop between the notes of progress is a mark of where my heart has turned. Ooh, if I leave with nothing but a playlist and a softer low frequency debut, then this listening corner of the city holds the groove where I step into new. Ooh, ooh, parking deck is layered into twilight. Painted lines are fading into gray. Concrete ribs are holding up the evening, guarding all the cars that could not stay. Air is cool and humming with compressors. Vents exhale a softly distant roar. I walk past the rows of sleeping metal toward the open edge on level 4. City lifts its scattered blinking windows. streetlights. Swings hang still like promises on hold. Park bench keeps a register of weather, etched by names and stories never told. Path is lined with leaves that miss their timing. Late arrivals drifting toward the drains. I sit down and let my shoulders answer for the days I only ran from quieter pains. Dog walkers negotiate their circles. Headphones shield their separate tiny worlds. Joggers trace the edges of their questions. Footsteps flicking off in careful horse. Overhead the branches knit a ceiling. Patchwork gaps revealing scraps of sky. I can hear my pulse in distant traffic, learning not to treat its rush as why. I used to think that resting meant surrender, giving up the right to move again. But this bench beneath the sodium halo teaches how to pause without the end. On this small, unglamorous park curve seating, I can feel my hurried story slow. Every breath that does not chase an outcome writes a line my future self can know. If I let the gravel hold my footsteps while the wind revises what I knew, then this empty after hours corner turns into a classroom for my true kids. Chalk goggles still linger on the pavement. Faded suns and houses holding hands. I remember drawing doors to nowhere just to see where fantasy would land. Now my plans have less dramatic framing, but they're real enough to touch and tend. I agree to treat this shaded clearing as a place where rushing learns to bend. On this small, unglamorous park curve seating, I release the need to prove I'm fast. Every still minute I let wash through me softens all the edges of my past. If I rise and walk the same old pathway with a fraction more of kindness in my view, then this quietly strewn evening garden holds the first relaxed permission to be new. Station stairs unfold in shallow switchbacks. Announcements float in tight recorded tone. Tile reflects a puzzle of commuters, each convinced they walk the path alone. Handrail bears the polish of decisions, palms that sweated over where to go. I climb slowly, counting every landing as a chapter I once rushed through low. Concourse blooms in scattered moving constellations. Footsteps cross like tangled underline. Billboard screens project 1,000 futures. None of them can spell out fully mine. Up above This flight of indoor stairways teaches how to honor where I came. On this open breathing station, terrace turning, I can feel my smaller changes land. Every choice to take the slower exit writes a new instruction in my hands. If I walk across this concrete balcony, let the city air revise what I construe. Then this everyday unnoticed platform becomes a launch for something gently true. Vendors stack their rows of quiet breakfast. Pigeons hold a council by the rail. Somebody rehearses in their reflection for a call they're scared to let not fail. I stand still and let the moment label. Nothing more than present learning still. I do not need a sudden hallelujah, just a breath that climbs me up the hill. On this open breathing station, terrace turning, I accept the pace that's honestly my own. Every step that lifts me from the concourse is a line of courage quietly grown. If I join the streams of Russian shoulders with the softer angle in my view, then I do not need the lightning of an exit just to see where I can breathe and read. Under this slow fluorescent bus stop ceiling, I allow my need for proof to thin. Every passing pair of cloudy headlights is a chance to try my trust again. If I climb aboard a simple evening with a fraction less of armor in my view, then this dripping narrow glass frame corner holds the first soft draft of what I'll do. Holds the first soft draft of what I'll do. Tramcar sighs along the shining rail line. Windows catch a ladder made of rain. Headlights paint the river on the asphalt, turning every corner into frame. Hand strap swings in half-awake slow motion. Voices blur a field of steady sound. Phone screen shows a paused untaken message. Words I never let escape my mouth. Shops drift by in pastel-colored panels. Metal shutters talking muted code. Neon spills on puddles like confession, sliding backward underneath the road. Reflections stitch my outline to this image, fragmenting into someone almost new. I can see a try and fail mosaic in the glass that keeps repeating you. I believe that change would feel like jumping, but it rides along these quiet metal lines. Every jolt and lurch inside this carriage tests the story looping in my spine. Riding under overhead electric whispers, letting neighborhoods redraw what I believe. Every stop announced in tired speakers is a chance to stay or to unleave. If I get off one corner closer to the place I say I want to be, this slow and humming evening transit becomes a small rotating vow to me. Route map looks like tangled, careful handwriting. Colored lines debating where to cross. Someone left a sticker by the junction, saying nothing spoken here is lost. I trace paths from where I started failing to the stations where I learned to stand. Maybe all these softly shaking windows are a lesson in adjusting how I land. Riding under overhead electric whispers, letting every sway revise my point of view. Each familiar half forgotten Keycard hums that lock into attention. Sterile smells of concrete and of rain. Elevated doors are slow in their confession. So I climb and let my pulse explain. Rooftop greets me with a tired antenna. Rusting wires tangled in the sky. Far below, the intersections flicker like a nervous system learning how to try. The city is a mirror in the distance. Every light a tiny answer I ignored. I thought I was the only one still waking, while the skyline kept its private scoreboard. But standing on this tired, familiar rooftop, I feel the version I outgrew slip out of view. The night is not a verdict, it is feedback. Someone new. Sneakers trace a careful line in gravel, drawing shapes I know will fade by dawn. I whisper all the names I have been hiding to the satellites already moving on. Phones below are glowing constellations, in bedroom hands. Maybe everyone is editing their story, scrolling for a place that understands. This city is a mirror in the distance. Every light a tiny answer I ignored. I thought I was the only one still waking, while the skyline kept its private scoreboard. But standing on this tired, familiar rooftop, I feel the version I outgrew slip out of view. The night is not a verdict, it is feedback, and I am quietly updating into someone new. Wind slides through the cables like a rhythm, pushing every quiet doubt aside. If the world below keeps rearranging, I am allowed to join the changing tide. Tomorrow I will walk the same old sidewalks, with a slightly different brightness in my view. From this familiar peeling rooftop corner, I sign a soft new contract to be new. Underpasses humming in a low key. Concrete holds the echo of the day. Sodium lamps are drawing tired halos over all the words I did not say. Posters peel in chronological fragments, layers of the versions people sold. Traffic paints a sideways moving movie. Frames are metal, glass and hesitation gold. truck comes a tiny generator. Dusty chairs at kingdoms for a while. Workers trade their uniforms for hoodies, wearing different faces on the tile. Headphones leak a distant tinny drum beat, matches up with engines on the road. I am tracing shadows with my footsteps, letting small decisions take the load. I thought meaning lived in higher buildings, but it gathers where the ceiling almost falls. Every beam and stain above my shoulder keeps a list of turning points and scrawls. So I stay beneath the overpass and listen to the syncopated choir of the street. Every rumble from the heavy distance carries tiny messages about who I can meet. If I let this ordinary corner name me as the place I learn to shift my view, I can sign a quiet moving contract with the trembling half-made map of someone new. Graffiti spells a promise in a shorthand only locals of this rest stop really know. Someone once declared a bold tomorrow in a paint that will outlast their glow. I breathe in the dust of their conviction, mix it with the doubt I always bring. Maybe every echo in this underpass is an unrehearsed rehearsal for my next small swing. So I stay beneath the overpass and listen to the tempos of the engines rushing through. Every clatter in the metal seams around me is a cue to try another softer truth. If I let this in-between location be the frame where my decisions come in view, I can walk back up into the city as a work in motion, honestly askew. Harbored air is stitched with salt and engine smoke. Ropes like coil like questions on the pier. Cargo cranes move slow in patient phrases, lifting quiet endings out of here. Benches hold a scatter of decisions, names carved deep where pain is chipped away. Gulls describe unpunctuated circles over all the things we meant to say. Screens glow soft along the waterfront. Couples frame their faces in the light. Snack stand hums a low and tinny chorus to the soundtrack of the starting night. Water keeps repeating blurred reflections, stretching city colors into threads. I can see a version walking toward me, made of all the words I have not said. I could stay a practice distant outline, or step close enough to shape my name. Either way, the tide will keep on lifting, pushing tiny boats to where they're not the same. So I stand between the waves and all my history. Let the signal from the ferries pass me by. Every ripple on the darkened surface is a question asking if I'll even try. If the skyline keeps on drawing invitations in its pixel fragments, plastic colors come through. Wind pulls threads of sound from every railing, clinking glass and distant engine whine. I rehearse a future tense confession, where I do not hide my shaking spine. Somewhere on a deck a bell is ringing, marking out a path I cannot see.